It's our first instinct to reject new information. Brains judge it against our core information to build a more predictive reality. Now, if one makes morality part of their core identity, do they escape into cognitive dissonance when someone questions it? That wouldn't be very virtuous. Okay, so, like I said, it's our first instinct to reject new information. It's more comfortable to stay inside the echo chamber. And I don't blame anybody that does, by the way, because I can see how it can be distressing to have contradictory information and people fighting. And, some people do really genuinely just want a calmer existence. And I think that there should be a place for them. But do understand if that's a smaller group, not a larger one. I don't think the internet at large should be censored. I think it should be, if you want to have your Disney.com, it's the Disney Network. It's the Disney Network. And what you can do with the Disney Network is everything is so clean and there is nothing offensive and nobody speaks out of turn. It's kind of an authoritarian hellhole if you have a libertarian mindset and you enjoy sort of edgier content and you want something with a little danger to it, that kind of, gets you revved up and going. But hey, if you can't handle any of that stuff, you have the Disney Network. And with the Disney Network, all of your dreams can come true. But yeah, it's our first instinct to reject new information. So brains judge it against our core information to build a more predictive reality. So we kind of set aside, with confirmation bias, we just set aside what we know, what we've internalized as being true. I can walk through my house in the dark without hitting my leg or my toe on anything because I know where everything is. I have a muscle memory, a mental memory of everything that's been repeated again and again. The information is so, I have so much familiarity. So that's my core information. I know that the chair is there. I know that the computer is there. It's established. It's not going anywhere. Okay, but then, new information comes in. Now, these things are physical, and they can't, they don't apply to the same rules. But basically, when a new idea surfaces, when we have a core idea already, say if I say green is the best color, green is the best color, and I'm so convinced because I've not seen any evidence elsewhere that green isn't the best color. Hey, it might be one of the only colors I've ever seen. I'm not so sure what kind of isolated environment I'd need to live in for that to be possible. But hey, this is all hypothetical anyway. We're not talking about facts here. We're talking about hypotheticals. But what isn't hypothetical is confirmation bias and what the brain does. So here's where it gets dicey. If one makes morality part of their core identity, do they escape into cognitive dissonance, which is sort of not being able to accept the new information and just sort of staying in a sort of like having the reality bump up against your reality. That's the cognitive dissonance. If one makes morality part of their core identity, do they escape into cognitive dissonance when someone questions it? So, if your morality, if your sense of morality is part of your core identity, and somebody goes ahead and says something that, for example, you might be a social justice disciple or a prophet. And somebody might, like me, an agnostic, might come around and point it out and say, look, maybe there could be some serious moral implications here. Maybe it's not so virtuous what you're doing. It may seem virtuous. You may have good intent. Hell, you might be, heaven bound. You might be, just deep, deep good down in your soul. But this method of trying to bring about peace, joy, equality, and love, it might not be the best method for getting there. So if somebody is pushing really hard with an issue, and they're pushing using morality, not so much reason, but sort of this faith that this is the right way to go. Maybe reason mixed in, but there's a faith element. It's morality, it's subjective for them. They have a set of ethics, a set of this moral code they've laid out for their life. And that may not apply to your life or that person's life or any other life, but that's how they see things. Well, if it's part of their core identity, do they escape into cognitive dissonance? Do they just bump up against reality? Well, that wouldn't be very virtuous. When someone questions it, you should, if somebody is telling you, if somebody that appears to have good intentions, if somebody that, is older, especially, that's been around, but if somebody you trust looks at you and goes, hey, I think you're doing a swell job of advancing human progress and prosperity. But, I think the way you're going about it and bringing about a more moral and ethical world, well, I'm not sure it's the best method for what you should do, for what we can do together to bring about world peace and the end to injustice. I don't know. It's all very virtuous. It's all very virtuous in our heads. We are virtuous in our heads. And if someone else is telling you, look, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. I will take that advice. Please tell me in the comments below. Am I doing it right?